Meeting to order. If you guys would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do not have anybody to talk to us today. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on May 28th, 2024, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of today's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. We do not have any conflicts of interest to approve. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. And then we have 3 reports of the president tonight. Today, this afternoon. What are we doing? What time is it? So we will start with the accessibility services update. Welcome. And will you just spin that microphone around? Awesome. Thank you so much. Much better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, President. And board members. My name is Elizabeth Harder. I am the Accessibility Services Coordinator at Southeast Tech. And I am 6 months old, so I've been in the position for 6 months. But I've been with the institution for 15 years, so you may have seen me before in the student activities position. So I was doing accommodations with events to make sure that anybody who attended, whether they needed any type of a service, was already kind of in my zone. Mm-hmm. So today I'm going to be presenting on the services that we have been doing. So I took over in January. I have an amazing counterpart, Ashley, who put in all the numbers for me. So I just want to give her a shout out. But I'm going to go ahead and go through the numbers, and feel free to ask any questions. And I'll do my best to answer.
Sure.
So the purpose of my department is to ensure that students who are coming onto campus receive equal access to our services, into the classroom, into clinicals, anything to make sure that their experience and their learning is in equal levels as their counterparts who are attending. And so that is the purpose. And then we work directly with the students, their faculty, and we kind of start a web on campus. So most students will come from an IEP if they're coming directly from the K-12 system. But we also have a lot of non-trad students who haven't been at the post-secondary, so it's a whole new adjustment period for them as well. So my role is to make sure that that transition takes place and that all the communication is going across the board to make sure that they get that experience that they're seeking when they come to our institution. And mentioned to you that there's a 2-person staff, so Ashley is the one. She is currently on campus right now doing a tour with a new group that we were introducing to our campus. So she's not here with me, but she is here in spirit. So she is doing what she's doing. So what you're gonna see first is our fall to fall ratio of what we are looking at from season to season. And you'll notice that we had like a 9% increase over the course of the year, which is amazing. And I already know coming in that the applications for services is already rolling in. So I anticipate that our numbers are going to be very similar, if not a little higher. So that is amazing. And if there's any questions about the actual numbers on there, feel free to ask me. But I think the main thing that we're really trying to go for as one of our goals is to increase our availability to the public. So that's one of my personal goals as one of our strategic plans. And so I'm really excited about forging these new relationships to get that to happen. So just as you see there for the growing partnerships, so Catch the Wave was on our campus right when I came on board. Fortunately for me, I had worked with Beth before in the student activities realm of having camps and conferences on campus. So Catch the Wave was at the highest enrollment that she has ever had. So she was incredibly excited about that, and I was scrambling to get more tables and chairs. So it worked out really well. But it was the first introduction for me onto campus as far as the accessibility services component. And the parents, so it's including parents, high schools, students coming from all the various high schools from across. And it is very interactive, and it provides all the services. So in the outer ring, we have all of the services, like for technical support, anything that they're going to need as they transition from high school into post-secondary. Also preparing for them the changes that are going to take place between K through 12 to post-secondary, about going from modifications to accommodations, which is a big shift for both parents and them. So we start the process very quickly. And so that event was well attended, lots of good feedback. And so I'm really excited to see where they come in from going forward. The other initiative that we had was professional development for our campus. There's been a lot of changes in the laws, expectations of K through 12, then into post-secondary. And so we're trying to make sure that our staff is fully prepped on how to make sure that that interaction is appropriate. They are nervous about what can they ask for, what do they not say. So just trying to alleviate some of that so that they can interact with their students just as normal as any other day. And so we brought in some amazing guest speakers, and we also brought in a professional for, it was prior to me a little bit, about a lawyer that brought in like some things that were happening and changing, so that our staff is well informed and feel comfortable to ask questions. Where do they have some leeway? So it was a wonderful experience. And then Vicki spoke at our IE day the other day, and she just blew their minds. It was a wonderful interaction. She is amazing. So we are trying to provide that throughout the course of the year, and that is really high on our agenda. Oh, oops. Forgot my counterparts on campus. The other thing that we're doing, we're using a new software called Navigate, and then we are also looking at how we web out for that support system for our students that come. Our non-trads are a little bit more intimidated with the technology factor, and so the ARC is one of our academic resource center, is a big component of that, of helping make sure that people are getting used to their navigation. And so as we grow on the campus, because we are expanding more and more, we're making sure that our communication between our different departments create that network, that we are telling them that when they come in that we are actually performing those. So that's been an amazing thing to see grow and expand. I guess I'm just so overwhelming that I just had to go on. I'm going to go off my little sheet here. So that was the grant that I was talking about earlier. We're also creating a student success seminar presentation that includes like a little blip from me about accessibility services, because a lot of people coming in don't realize that they're eligible for accessibility services, and that means if they break their arm and they're in sonography and they're not going to be able to do the things, that's a temporary accommodation. So just widening the awareness on campus right from the moment they walk in. There's also a lot of undocumented people who have gone through their whole life and not realizing that they had ADHD or dyslexia to that degree, that it impacted them. And so sometimes just opening that door and saying, hey, have you ever thought about this? That opens for them to come in. So we are increasing that awareness level at both the faculty level and at the student level. Oh, and I got to make a new video. Yay. So I started a new video for myself for the website, and that was a lot of fun for me, because again, it's another way for me to outreach and be in person with them instead of just reading the material. So just to get some of my energy out to them to realize that I'm approachable was a really fun aspect for me to do that particular video. We are going through the transformation of reviewing our registration process, our health forms, and everything like that, because everything does have to be a documented disability in order to receive services. So just kind of familiarizing myself, but also just knowing that we're going through some transitions legally. And so we're kind of going through the whole review, and emotional support animals is a hot topic right now. So the conference I just returned from, we were talking about that quite a bit and had a national speaker in for that. So I'll be reviewing our process, and I'm very proud to say we are on it. We have amazing documentation, so I felt really good presenting and interacting with my peers at that time. That is becoming more and more common, just so you're aware. So animals are what helps with those anxiety levels. And then I just mentioned it earlier before, continuing to grow our relationships outside of our own community. And this is really important for me, especially as a new person coming in. I know the different areas, but I have not yet really got to engage as much as I want to, so that's going to be my own personal professional growth. Growing partnerships, those are the ones that we have been working with consistently. And Dakota Link, I have to say, I'm going to give a good shout out to them. They're amazing. The technology that is available to students nowadays is just really has opened that door for success as a student. So I've been engaging with them quite a bit. But all of those partnerships were at the conference, and we also had them at the Catch the Wave conference as well. So those are just special ones that we just highlighted up there. And that's it. So what kind of questions may I answer for you?
Anybody? Well, I think, as you know, your role is very important on campus for students, whether they have a longer term disability or accessibility need, or like the example that you gave, have a shorter kind of unexpected. Just getting the word out that doesn't mean you have to stop coming to class or that you can't finish your program is super important for the students, and then also for us as well. So you can tell you're passionate when you talk, and so I think that's contagious and helps people to feel welcome and that they can ask for help and get those services that they need. So thank you for that, and I love that you have some of these things that you've also incorporated in your own personal and professional goals too, that will, I think, make them even more successful long term. So.
Well, and I appreciate this, and so hopefully in the next year when you have me come back, that I will be able to elaborate on everything that I just said that I kind of know about.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the accessibility services update, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. Next is the graduate placement outcomes report.
President Ryder and members of the board, Dr. Billy Stufert and myself, Jackie Palmer, are proud to present to you the career outcomes for the class of 2023. This is truly a group effort at Southeast Tech. So even though we're up here presenting, there's many people who had parts in putting this report together, and it takes a very long time to compile. So Billy is the Director of Student Success and also Federal Compliance, and I'm the Director of Institutional Effectiveness. So we work together on a lot of the reporting. So Southeast Technical College graduate career outcomes are one of the most important measures that we have because they directly relate to the essence of the mission and vision, which is workforce development. So this really tells that story of are we graduating graduates that are employed in South Dakota and in field? So those are some of the very important measures that we have. The outreach and follow-up that it takes to get all of the numbers in place and report to South Dakota BOTE is time well spent. There are other groups besides the BOTE that are interested in us as well, that are monitoring us, such as the Department of Education, who's monitoring gainful employment, future value transparency. So lots of eyes are on us, and not only meeting those reporting requirements, but marketing. So parents want to know that they're sending their students to places where they're going to get employed. All right. So we are going to be switching back and forth. So I'll have some slides, and then Billy will take over on some others. So this first one just deals with the three career outcomes that the BOTE is going to have us meet by 2030, and they're the 3 A's: attainment, affordability, and alignment. And the career outcomes have an impact on every one of those 3. So the first one is the attainment goal, which as a system, and these are system numbers, so 3,001, we'll say 3,000 completers by 2030. So that's a system goal for the 4 tech colleges to meet together. And generally when we report out, Southeast is about 1/3 of the pie, Lake Erie is about 1/3, and the other 2 colleges share the remaining 1/3. So we could say 1,000 is our goal by 2030. Feel we'll meet that pretty easily. So the primary goal is that completer count. By 2030, that's what they'll be measuring us by. But the secondary measures will be, of course, the enrollment count, the retention rate, and the completion rate. And so if you don't get students enrolled, you're not going to have people graduating further down the line. The affordability goal is 5.0 or lower cost to earnings premium that we'll need to meet for every AAS program by 2030. And then finally, the alignment goal will be to increase the year 5 in state placement rate by 75%, so as an average. And the numbers that we're reporting to you today or in the BOTE report were year 1 numbers. So we start surveying our students pretty early, and then that's through that first year. But the hope is that we can keep those students in South Dakota by year 5. So they will ask us to report that out by 2030. Some of the primary numbers that we can get to in more depth later are that we had a 98% total placed. So those are, you know, students that are placed in any job, even if it wasn't in field. 94% of the students were in field. 86 were employed in South Dakota, and then 84% were in field in South Dakota. So obviously that last number is the number BOT is saying we want that higher, right? But that was 1-year numbers. So by year 5, let's keep them in there as well.
Wonderful.
Well, as Jackie shared, there is strong interest in this, whether it is national rankings, the federal government through College Scorecard or PSEO, and our state. This is only increasing. In fact, next month, gainful employment regulations will open, and that, unlike the past, it has only been proprietary, but now is all institutions, including Southeast. And 2 months ago, Jackie and I were at the HLC, and accreditation now has made this a leading marker. So there is strong interest in this. We as an institution have an interest. We, like the United Nations, believe career well-being is an inalienable human right. We also want to know we're meeting the workforce needs of our community. So we are honored to share these numbers. So this is a postcard that we are preparing to share, as Jackie gave us a highlighted 98% for the class of 2023 reported that they had secured a job. So, and that is immediately, it's for the board 9 months after graduation. Equally, what we know is if you look 5 years out, we do very well. So this is a great slide for South Dakota in general because the technical colleges in general observe an ROI. This was a report prepared by the Dakota Institute using PSEO data prepared by the US Census, so very rigorous uniform methodology. The column 1 reflects specific graduate earnings, so it's the average across all the programs that they looked at. Then the comparison group is by occupation, the average earnings, and they did control for age, so it's young entry-level workers. They tried to make it as uniform comparison. The final column is not the difference between the two, it's the average ROI observed, in Southeast Tech placed very high for that. So we're, as we look at gainful employment, which is more long-term and also immediate, but we're very cautiously optimistic that we have a great story and our graduates are indeed achieving their career goals.
So now I'd like to just talk a little bit about that road to reporting. So that right now that reporting road starts by administering a survey to students as soon as they graduate. So we'll use the May graduation, for example. As soon as they pick up their regalia, they're getting a survey. We like to get as many of those back as possible. But our students graduate multiple times a year, so they're entering into that road at different points. follow-up with people seeking jobs and supporting maybe their part-time job. We might get a survey back saying, well, you know, I worked as a bartender, but we know, okay, that was your job in school. Let's follow up again and see, now that you're 6 months out, what are you doing and where are you at? So that continues on where we're, you know, making contacts. In September, October, we're merging the September, December, May spreadsheets of graduates together. We're collecting missing information. There's phone calls going on. There's asking faculty for updates because many of those faculty are references for students. So if we're not hearing directly from the student, maybe the faculty knows that they're working at Sanford and they're an LPN. So we can take some of those secondary sources as well. Then I'm marching into the month of March where we're reviewing the in-field status. Now, we don't want to do that too early because they might, again, have been in their part-time job right away. We want to know what their full-time job field is. And so we review some of that. What did they say their job title was? Is that in field or not in field? And it can be subjective, and it can be, no, a bartender does not count for business. We would like it to, but that's not. So sometimes Billy and I are together like, well, what does this job title mean? Do we need to do more follow-up on it? Then we also, after the new year, ask for the Department of Labor records. We get wage information back from that, but unfortunately not a job title. And we also request from the National Clearinghouse to see if those students have gone back to school to get a 4-year degree, and that might be why we're not getting any wage information back. And then finally, April 15th, we submit to South Dakota BOTE by the 15th, and in May we graduate and we start all over again. So right now we are on the next cycle for the class of 24. Now this road will be changing because, as I mentioned before, the main graduate outcomes is going to be a year 5. So they're not going to want us to start quite as early as we are now with that 1-year cycle. They want to know further out. A secondary measure will be the 1-year graduate outcomes, but the primary is going to be the year 5.
This next slide highlights the source of our information, and we draw from the best-in-class gold standard, the National Association of College and Employers, as do all those different methodologies that I highlighted. The short of it is, as Jackie shared, we can, as long as we hear directly from the graduate or a government entity. So if you're familiar, I'm sure we're all familiar with the term response rate. I'll share in a minute. The term is knowledge rate for career outcomes because faculty may hear from the student. It's a secondary source, but we can still take it. As Jackie shared, and for everyone in the room, I echo, it takes a village. These are everyone's. It's a joint effort. We do start with the survey. I'll give a shout out to my success advisors who call, email, text. We do also message students through LinkedIn, Facebook, capture some information that way, and then our faculty are references and do provide information. And then we'll reach out to the Department of Labor and National Clearinghouse, which is pretty comprehensive. If they are enrolled and continued their education, we will know. Here's the knowledge rate. This is the number I care a lot about because every student matters. NACE, that gold standard, again, sets the minimum at 65%. I can share I have been at conferences where people like me have said, once I hit 65%, the minimum, I don't follow up with people. We follow up because every graduate matters, and we want to make sure they are achieving career well-being and satisfied with their goals. So the 11% through all that previous slide have not responded to email, text, phone, faculty outreach because they call. But we are pleased that it's well beyond the 65%. Employment rate is 98% and in-field is 95%. We equally are very pleased to see both numbers.
Okay, a few other statistics that came out of this last report. Those top employers are not arranged in any specific order, but Sanford Health, Good Samaritan, these are some of the top ones that appeared as employers in the report. Avera, Interstates, Avantera Norton, Carlson Stewart, Lifescape, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital. I would share that number 1 that came up was Avera and number 2 was Sanford. The 100% placement for 41 of the different programs, so those people were all placed. And a few of the others kind of came in that 80 percentile. And then our starting salary average for all was $45,760. So let's see, what else? I had shared with you before those 3 variables that we report to South Dakota BOTE. Of course, we want everybody employed, we want them in South Dakota, and we want them in field. So the percent does go down a little bit when you combine all 3, but our goal is always to make that better.
This next slide highlights how we are retaining talent. We, as Jackie mentioned, we want our graduates to stay in South Dakota and stay in Sioux Falls. More specifically, we're pleased to report, this is, by the way, only of those who are working. We could look at those who continue their education. That'll actually be my next slide. But it's 86.3% in South Dakota, and 80 of that 86%, 80.5, we're here in the Sioux Falls region. So that would include Harrisburg, T, Lennox. Bachelor bound and continuing ed. I want to first, he'll hate that I'm doing this, shout out to Benjamin, Dr. Valdez, who has worked tirelessly to pave and enhance the pathways available for our students who do aspire to earn a 4-year degree, as well as certainly the board and our ongoing partnership with the Board of Regents, dual credit, for example. So we have 14 right now articulation agreements of the class of 2023 who provided information. 5.3% reported they were continuing their education, and many of those were at Southeast Tech. And sometimes that is just because they're incredibly close to earning a second credential. Transfer rates were equal across public and private. So the vast majority were in South Dakota. Looking ahead to the future, as Jackie has shared, I would anticipate that we will continue to not only track this, but also report of the percent that indicated at the point of entry that they wanted to go on, what percent actually continued to do so. I won't expand on this too much, but wanted to highlight this publication because it comes from the Gardner Institute, which our incoming president is coming from. They emphasize that we should be tracking if those individuals that want to earn a 4-year degree are doing so, because nationally, since the 1960s, the term cooling out has been problematic in higher education. So the call and charges for us to support those, which again, we are doing not only through articulation agreements, but things like transfer fairs and very intentional, thorough academic advising. Final slide is about what is ahead of us. And again, this is not going to go away. It's only further amplified, which is why we're grateful to think together with you and share where we are and where we're going. The reporting opens up next month and will be closed, so we have to by October. Fully report gainful employment, which has the metrics as you can see across the screen, debt to earning ratio, the earnings, premiums, and then the financial value transparency, which is costs of estimates per program. The earnings premium will compare to the high school graduate with the hopes that our college graduates are earning more. So as we look ahead to the future, anticipate that we will be coming back to you and sharing where we are, and we're cautiously optimistic again, just knowing some of the numbers that we already shared. And with that, President, board members, we welcome your questions and comments.
I think the numbers are outstanding. I mean, I don't know the history. I mean, I haven't, but this is some pretty good stuff. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know I would be curious, 8 years ago, how many articulation agreements did we have? I feel like the number was very, very low. 3? Thank you. Yeah, so kudos to Benjamin, but also to everybody's really kind of imagination and creativity of looking to say, where should that go and what does make sense? And it does seem like we've had many reports, you know, last time it was the School of Mines, and we're kind of just branching out, and I just think that's awesome. It used to be that if you went to college and you couldn't hack it, that you just didn't do anything. And I just think it's amazing that there are so many other options that are not failures. They are just as great, maybe even better, for whether it's young adults or whether it's more mature late 20s, early 30s, whoever that is that wants to go back and do something different. So those articulation agreements are huge, and the transfer agreements, so that you can feel like you're going to go somewhere and it's not wasted. It's not going to just transfer as a whole bunch of electives that you didn't really need. So very, very important, and appreciate that a lot. I was going to ask the student participation. That's kind of where you got to, but is it decent? Like, what's your total? I know you had the percentages of all of the.
Yeah, so it would, I mean, it is, knowing nationally the average is typically 65%. To gather information from 89% is high. And most of our source.
So you heard from 89%.
We captured information from 89% of the class of 2023. We wish it was 100, because every graduate counts, but we do know it's well above the 65% that, and it does take a village for all of these information sources. The top row would be direct information sources, so we had direct communication.
Yep.
Equally, I would say the faculty could count as direct communication, and number 5 is still a reliable secondary source. As Elizabeth mentioned, we do have the new Navigate app that may or may not help us, hopefully, as we're going to think together in the coming year, because as Jackie shared, some of this methodology is changing too.
Yeah.
So, but great question.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they're looking at the investment, because if you go to school for something and you pay $100,000 for it and you are done and you're making 30, yes, you've learned. You can never take away someone's learning. But that's a really big hill to climb. And so I think it's so important to make sure that they're getting great value for what they're getting. And so I wish that that was maybe a wider spread philosophy amongst other types of schools to make it affordable for people to do that. So very interesting information. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, 0.6.
0.6, you want credit for the 0.6 also? Okay. Do we round up for that then, right?
Yes.
I think that rounds up to 99, doesn't it?
You could do that.
Awesome. Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the graduate placement outcomes report, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. We have the campaign next update. Welcome.
Hi, President Ryder, School Board. Thank you for this opportunity to have the chance to talk to you a little bit more about the foundation and update on the campaign. And thank you so much. So just a little reminder on Campaign Next. It's a $25 million comprehensive campaign. Want to make sure that we emphasize the word comprehensive. Sometimes we always call these things capital. That means you're building a building, or you're doing just bricks and mortar if it's just capital. If you're doing comprehensive, you're doing scholarships, you're doing annual fund, you're doing obviously capital and all that. So we always want to make sure that we emphasize this is a comprehensive campaign. This is the college's campaign. This is not the foundation's campaign. The foundation exists to support the college. So all of our goals are a part and support Vision 2025, which is the strategic plan for the college. So all of our goals were not just created by a bunch of people. They're there to support the actual strategic plan. As of right now, the campaign started January 1, 2022, and is supposed to end December 31st, 2025. And the biggest thing is, with any campaign is how does the college and the foundation come together to bring more assets to the college? That might be financial, it might be capital, it might be in-kind gifts, it could be a whole bunch of different things. But the goal is to go and help out with innovation, supplementing the budget, and hopefully doing some things to help our students with the tuition and the cost of going to the institution. So again, campaign next, $8.5 million for student scholarships and financial support, $13.2 million for capital projects and renovations, $2.5 million to improve access, opportunity, and programs, and $800,000 for annual unrestricted. Okay. Our campaign co-chairs, Tony Knorr, Mark and Cynthia Mickelson. We have many commitments ranging between $5 and $4.5 million. We have 4 commitments of $1 million or more. The foundation board will be meeting, this group will be meeting, our fiscal year ends June 30th. And so we'll be losing Tony Knorr of First Premier Bank, Mike Jaspers of East River Electrical, Kira Kimball, and obviously the president, Bob Graves, off the foundation board, and we'll be replacing those. The board will be voting on some new persons here at the next board meeting, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to announce those persons yet. That would be jumping the gun. As of right now, we have surpassed the financial goals of 2 of the 4 goals. So we are well on our way to not only meeting the goals, but superseding and now blowing by them pretty good. Want to talk about some recent wins. We always like to talk about wins. Obviously, we take some L's every once in a while too, but we like to focus on the wins. Most recently, President Dr. Valdez and myself, we have continued, and this has really been since Bob got here, had this really great relationship with the city of Sioux Falls. We are partners with each other in doing some really interesting, innovative things. And the most recent one is they have allocated $438,000 over the next 3 years for early childhood scholarships. The reason they do this is simply because every year when we go back and we talk to the city council and they ask us how we spend the money that they give us, we give them really good results and they like it. And we present it well, and we're very direct on what we're very intentional on what we do with those funds. The agreement that we have with the city is that those dollars are specific towards helping English language learners, first generation students, and then also to go and be used as matching dollars to find other dollars out there that might need some matching dollars for a grant. So that's where the money goes, and it's been very successful. Between this year, between private and publicly funded scholarships, we'll exceed $600,000 in scholarships this year. That number has gone up from about 2019, we were about $194,000. And I'd like to say it was from me just beating the street and going out and just knocking on doors. I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten a phone call from people who have no history with Southeast Tech, who say, I saw something. I want to do a scholarship at Southeast Tech. Big scholarships, $5,000, $10,000, full ride scholarships. They have money in their IRA that they need to spend that they don't need. It's been exceptional how many times that has happened the last few years. So even though it comes through the foundation, I'd like to say it was me, but it really, a lot of it hasn't been. Between the record number of scholarships and the record number of Build Dakota scholars, the college will provide over $2.5 million conservatively in student assistance this fall, not counting federal financial aid. Prior to the Build Dakota program, the college was probably providing less than $200,000 a year. So we've been, when it comes down to it, we've had a lot of people, the state of South Dakota has seen that this is a place where they want to invest money because, as you just saw with the prior presentation, we get a lot of ROI. There's the college it's not overly expensive. Obviously that depends on where a person's at economically, everybody's different. But in the end, the ROI on a Southeast Tech education is exceptional. People see that, and they continue to increasingly invest in what we're trying to do. We have secured funding to continue the very successful English language access coach position this year. Marcella and Jackie Hartman have done, Marcella Prokop, sorry about that. We're kind of friends, so sometimes I just go by first name. Marcella Prokop, the Director of Access and Workforce Opportunity, and Jackie Hartman have done an unbelievable job this year in creating something that's making a significant difference in people's lives. We have also secured matching dollars for the new Indigenous Access Coach position. This was a big idea grant through the South Dakota Community Foundation, secured by Marcella and with assistance from me. Right now, we're going to start interviewing some people in that position. Marcella's done an unbelievably good job in guiding and and we have some exceptional applicants coming in, so we're very excited about this. Private donors will annually supplement $25,000 to the Academic Resource Center budget through the year 2027. So every year that we will basically write a check for the ARC, the Academic Resource Center, for them to use how it is, and usually basically from what I have seen, is those dollars are being used to hire better tutors, more professional tutors. Most of them are retired teachers. And the results, if you, when Suzanne comes and presents to you, you'll see the results. They've been extraordinary. So we're very happy about that. We continue to invest in furniture. I know it's not something we talk a lot about, but one of the issues we have is we have a lot of furniture on campus in study areas that does not have any access to power. And when this furniture was purchased, there were no laptops and there were no cell phones. So steadily we are working in study areas to go and buy furniture. So when a student needs to plug in their phone or their computer, they can do that seamlessly. And we've had some success doing that. We've just finished we're going to do a classroom this year in the business department. We've done some study areas in engineering and architecture and land survey. And in the next 12 months, we're going to do a study area in the Sullivan Center and also some more in the business department. So again, maybe not the hippest, coolest thing that, drives a lot, but at the same time, it's pretty important when you're trying to get something done. My bad. All right. All right, goals for 24-25. Our first and one of our goals is to obtain matching dollars for the new Edwood expansion project that we are creating right now, and will revolutionize how we deliver the trades at the college. As I like to tell folks, is that when Edwood was created, it was built for a community of 150,000 people. We are now well past that. So the fact of the matter is the trades take up a lot of space. It's not like a political science class, which I might have gone through, or a business course where you can classrooms are somewhat interchangeable. The electrician classroom is unique, needs its own space. Welding, HVAC, and also manufacturing, those type of programs. So we need to do something with Edwood and expand those spaces so we can take in more students, get them through, graduate them, and get them out in the workforce. We'll always continue to attain scholarship dollars, especially for those students who are economically challenged. We are about access, period. If we're not if we're not providing better access for students, then we're not doing our job. We need to actively engage Dr. Placeman as a new foundation board member and in the fundraising process. And we're going to have to consider amending Campaign Next with added goal amounts and extending the calendar, because some things have changed since we already started the campaign. So I'll be presenting the board a new goal and possibly extending out another year, but that'll have to be a goal decision. In conclusion, I really want to talk about everybody who's in this room right now. They've all assisted in the fundraising process, every single one of them. There's a lot of good fundraisers in this room. They help with not only with information, but I've taken them out on calls, met with donors. They can provide some verbiage that I just can't, and some expertise. I really do want to talk about two people, though, and that's Dr. Valdez and President Griggs. Dr. Valdez is exceptional in a meeting. The gravitas he brings to a conversation, the knowledge, the leadership, and academics that he brings is unbelievable. He takes it to a level that I cannot in these conversations. And President Griggs, you know, the thing that the president, Bob, does exceptionally well is his presentations out in Pier and in front of the city council. He takes enough notes for a thesis and somehow presents coherently in 4 or 5 minutes into something that by the end, they all know exactly what we're talking about, exactly what our goals are, exactly what we have done and where we want to go. That's a real unique thing that you don't find a lot. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
I thought that was going to be a roast for a second there. Where you're going.
No, this isn't MTV or anything. Tom Brady.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Just really exciting. I mean, just exciting to see where you started from and where you are at this point, and, you know, to increase those goals. Sounds like a very logical next step, but just the work that you have done even since you've taken this position, just and really brought the foundation to where it's at today. Just thank you for all your hard work. And I know it's everybody, but you're steering the foundation. So just appreciate the report today and appreciate all your work on this.
Thank you.
I think it'll be exciting on Friday when we have the Build Dakota signing day to really see firsthand the impact that it makes on all those students who at maybe one point thought it was out of touch for them or out of reach for them, who are going to be able to step foot on campus as a student, knowing that they can get a great education and it's not going to be weighing them down for several years of their life. They'll have a great job and can continue that and maybe come back again for another degree or another certificate or to teach, or who knows what that may be. So,
you know, and the amazing thing is when, you know, President Griggs got here and Megan, I mean, there were no sponsorships. I mean, and then the first year I think we had 23. We were all pretty fired up about that. And this
now
year,
it's 100%.
and now we have 164.
Yeah.
And apparently I have been told that we didn't run out of sponsors. We actually ran out of Build Dakota money. We had more sponsors than we had Build Dakota money. That's just an unbelievably exceptional job of work that people have done.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned, you know, everybody is a fundraiser, and I think that's the people in the classrooms who are selling the amazing work that they do to the students, who then go out into the community and who are excited. And so they may not be asking for money, but they're asking for attendance and they're asking for enrollment. And then you're getting the people who maybe it's the grandparent of so-and-so who wants to give back. And so it really is all connected. And so, yes, I would agree that we have a lot of amazing people and a lot to be grateful for the work and the energy that has been put into the huge growth. Will only benefit our community by letting more people have access to an education.
It's amazing how good of a fundraiser quality is.
Yeah.
It's really easy to actually present to earn dollars to.
Awesome. Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
update.
Yep.
Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the campaign next update, please?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. Anything else to come before the board?
President Ryder, members of the board. I'm just going to mention, and you did at the end here, but on Friday we have our Build Dakota Signing Day ceremony. It's really one of the highlights of the entire year. Other than graduation, I think it's one of the more exciting events on campus, and we some great speakers that are going to be with us and helping us celebrate with the students, the Build Dakota Award recipients, and Jim Dover, President CEO from Avera, will be there. Dana Dykehouse is the president of the State Tech Board. And then Congressman Dusty Johnson and a couple of our prior Build Dakota recipients and Avera Academy. And it's going to be, I think, a great event. So hope you all will be able to attend. And want to thank the group again. Just outstanding reports. It's just positive. And it was 98.6 for the record. Just have to mention that, but I want to thank everyone and echo Stephen's comments. It's very much been, as you all know, a very collaborative effort across campus, and you guys have been part of it. So I want to say thank you to this board for allowing Southeast to try some things and to move forward in some different areas that we had not in the past. And that's not always a safe bet, but you all had our backs and had our students and their support. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. All right, can I get a motion and a second for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.